What's up, gamers? Aaron Shack here with episode 46 of the Shackcast. We have a special guest today, ActingRelic. He's here to talk about his life in Japan, some gaming news, Warhammer, all sorts of stuff right off the top. Tell us what you're all about, man.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Yes, as Aaron said, my name is ActingRelic. I have been a content creator, YouTube, Twitch person on the space for a little while now. I play primarily a mix of stuff like From Software titles, Dark Souls, Elden Ring, and Armored Core, as well as XCOM and several others. And I'm really happy to share about that, various game news stuff. And I recently moved to Japan. I say recently, but it's about to be the 1 year anniversary of me living and working in Japan.
That's awesome, man. So let's get into because this is a hot topic on our minds right now. The gaming news. Latest thing is that there are layoffs all across the industry, and I actually have an article here, and I'll drop it in the chat in case anyone else wants to tune into that. But Kotaku here actually did a pretty deep dive into, and this is just 2024. We knew that 2023 was a really bad year in terms of layoffs. But right now, the title of this article shows that 8,100 plus video game layoffs have been announced.
And the interesting thing that when you read through the article is that it's all over the map in terms of where the firings are going on, because some of it's for smaller companies where there's a smaller studio, and just because of either earnings quarters or other factors, they've had to lay off a small percentage of their staff. But then other companies, say Unity Software, lays off 1,800 people, which is 25% of its staff.
Gosh.
That might have been because there was something about, hey, let's change our entire business model in the way that we do this. Oh no, people are angry.
Yeah, and I think Ubisoft's big announcement was like, hey, they just wanted to do live service. Like, they were like, we're changing everything, and we're going hard into it.
Twitch laid off a whole bunch of people. I remember seeing the Discord one, because Discord's laid off 17% of their staff, so almost 20%. I remember seeing somebody who worked at, I believe it was Discord, basically she was recapping what it was like for her to learn about being fired, where basically they pull you into a giant Discord call and say, all right, everybody who receives an email, you are getting fired. Goodbye, click. And then you just sit there in front of your computer and wait for an email to show up in your inbox to see if you're fired.
God. The way we do stuff, especially in America,
the way we do stuff, is not great. And the one that I think I want to talk about the most is Electronic Arts, which is further at the bottom here. I do want to talk about IDOS, because there is something there.
There's something big that we both care about with that studio.
As I'm going down here, I see Airship Syndicate. Airship Syndicate is a smaller studio, partially founded by Joe Mad. He's a comic artist who created the Darksiders series, and then built Airship Syndicate so that he could start creating games and all that stuff. His studio is really good. They unfortunately had to lay off 12 people, which in compared to other studios is not a lot, but for a smaller studio is a lot. But there's a line here that I really appreciate, which is, in addition to reducing staff, Ryan, the president, and Joe, the CEO, will be reducing their pay while we work to secure further future plans. So the top people are cutting their pay so that basically they don't have to fire as many people,
Mm-hmm.
and they can further strategize from there. And I think that's how things should be done. Is logically you can percentage manipulate the top people in your structure, where like they lose a bit of how much they make for, and it can only be for the time being until your studio goes back up. Like
Sure.
you have a really good release and it's like, hey, let's bump everybody's salary back up then.
Yeah.
But that's a better way of doing it than just being like, nope, goodbye.
Yeah, firing all the people in the lowest.
I keep all my golden parachute. You don't touch that. Let's see here. I believe it's at the very bottom here.
Yeah, because they're the
yes.
most recent.
Yeah, the most recent one, 670 people from EA. And I want to read you the opening line from the announcement that was from the CEO of EA, Andrew Wilson. Team, we are entertaining, inspiring, and connecting more people with more content and deeper experiences than ever before. Over the last year, we have organized our company to further empower our creative leaders to deliver our strategic priorities of entertaining massive online communities, telling blockbuster stories, and harnessing the power of our community in and around our games. These actions have positioned us to build bigger, bolder experiences for hundreds of millions of players and fans around the world. No, they haven't. That statement is not true.
That sounds like that could come from PlayStation Studios, right? Like they could say something like that.
Yes.
They could say like, we've been trucking.
I would believe that if PlayStation said it. I would believe that if Microsoft said that. Like, I'd still be a little like, you sure about that? I believe it if Nintendo said it. But Electronic... I believe if fucking Ubisoft said this. But EA? No. Because I genuinely asked when we were getting started, I asked Aaron, what was the last Electronic Arts game that you said, here's my money, I would like this video game, please? Because I have not been excited for an EA release since I think the last one I was genuinely, I'm excited to play this game, was the launch of Apex Legends. And that was November of 2020.
Woo! That's been a while.
So... like, there have been a handful of interesting releases from EA, like the Dead Space remake has done really well, and people are very happy with it. I've heard good things about Wild Hearts, their Monster Hunter-like game. I know that when it functioned, Jedi Survivor was a good game, but that initial release was really bad on PC.
It was. I haven't played it since. It's been horrible.
And then besides that, like I'm looking at their most recent releases. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are sports games that I don't personally play. I prefer to watch sports than play sports. And then the only other one is the Immortals of Avium game, the first-person shooter where you have the wrist gauntlet in your fantasy. I remember seeing trailers for that, and it was the most I watched it, and my eyes just sort of glazed over.
Yes, it's a lot of...
didn't care.
Yeah. A first-person magic shooter. It kind of shows a disconnect with what people want. And they basically stake that as like, people don't want single-player games anymore.
Right.
I'm like, what?
No,
That's what you took
no.
from the lesson?
Yeah. Whereas you look at other studios that, especially a lot of independent studios, were just like, we're going to focus our resources on making this one single player game, and we're going to release it. I'm not going to say Larian by name at this point. We'll mention Larian later.
Yeah.
Because we can't just lean on Larian as the example for everything,
The
even
model.
though it's very easy to do.
Sure.
Yeah, and then thinking about like, hey, answering the question, what is EA working on that you are genuinely excited for and want to see released? Because every time that there's something, it usually gets canceled.
That's true. Star Wars 1313, the new Mandalorian game, just got killed.
Dead. I will always be angry about Titanfall 3.
Yeah.
Because they posed it as it was going to be a combination of because Apex exists in the Titanfall thematic universe, like a lot of information, the storylines carried on between both sides. Titanfall 3 was going to be a combination of continuing Titanfall 2 story and bringing in the characters from Apex, and you would do missions together with those characters, and you would get to play around with having like all of their abilities in the world. And I always thought the ultimate version of Titanfall 3 would be a new campaign, a Titanfall multiplayer, and then your BR is just Apex. Where you just have your battle royale mode, because and that poses it right up against Call of Duty, where you have campaign and campaign, multiplayer and multiplayer, and battle royale and battle royale. Like, it offers all the same ones, and personally, I would go play a Titanfall 3 one, because I just like the way that the game plays more.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
As far as EA, what games do they have on the horizon? I know they're working on Mass Effect, whatever's next for that, right? Allegedly bringing back Shepard, because I mean, they know they need that to push the series further. You know, people are just not interested in other games within the universe.
Well, and they almost need, it's not only Shepard that they need, it's they need the cast.
Yeah.
Because when I think about Mass Effect, Shepard's definitely a draw, because you get to be Shepard and get to do different things. But it's all the people that you interact with.
Yeah.
If I don't have Garrus to talk to, if I don't have like all my friends to talk to, or they could also do new people. I'm totally fine with new characters. But if I don't have all the different alien races to talk to and be like, hey, what's going on with the Quarians these days?
Yeah.
If I don't have that, I don't care.
Okay, so it doesn't specifically have to be everyone from the previous games has to return, although that would be nice, right?
And here's the thing, they don't have to be, the other way you do it is they don't have to be on your team. They can just be people that you meet. You could have a different Quarian on your team, but at some point you go to the flotilla and it's like, oh, Tally's running the science division now. Let's go have a quest with her and talk to her about what's going on. And
that would be really sweet, because it would show progression. Things have happened since Mass Effect 3, and you know, your characters that you grew and had relationships with, you know, have moved on, and they've, you know, things have either gone well for them or not so well, or whatever it may be. And that has a lot of storytelling power to it. So I guess beyond that, I think Dragon Age is that's the more immediate, like, big thing that EA's been working on. Which I'm worried. I'm like, they could either knock it out of the park, or it's a fumble the bag moment, and then Dragon Age is just irrelevant.
Yeah, because like I'm trying to think, the studio that works on Apex and Titanfall, Respawn. they also work on the Jedi games.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they said that they were working on some more things because they also have, I think they have a VR division, which might be, here we go here, might be interesting, especially because of the progress that we're seeing with new VR headsets and stuff, because we're now getting like PlayStation's. Is the new PlayStation headset for the PS5 out yet? I can't remember. I know the new Apple one that's like $3,000 or something is out, and people are like, "Whoa, this thing is cool! I can walk around with it."
Yeah, are we talking about PSVR 2?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, that's out.
Okay.
And also relevant to the PlayStation VR conversation, they did just close London Studio, which is pretty heavily involved with the VR
hang
stuff.
on. I know London Studio. Those are the people that made
They're on the list here somewhere, I think, right? Well, maybe not in too much detail.
Studio video games.
Well, I know they had layoffs at Naughty Dog and Insomniac and Guerrilla Games.
Cut a chunk of its staff. Yeah, man. VR Worlds, that the basically the demo disc that came with the first PlayStation 1 headset was probably my favorite VR game to play. Because I'd show when I was showing people, hey, this is what virtual reality is like. You always put them in the one where you take them down into the ocean in the dive cage and you let them explore and the shark attacks the cage and stuff like that. And then I personally would just go into the shooting gallery one for the London heist. I wouldn't even play the actual London heist mission. I just go into the training room and just do target practice for like 2 hours.
Oh.
So that's really sad that they're dead, because they knew how to do VR guns really well.
Mm-hmm.
The shooting felt really good.
Man.
Oh, that's not great.
Yeah, so London Studio is entirely gone. And it shows that indie studios are not immune. It shows that big, highly successful studios, like, you drop a Spider-Man 2 and you make millions upon millions, and you're still not immune to that.
Not enough. Yeah. Speaking of that path within there, because I believe we scrolled past it, IDOS.
Yes.
Because there was another piece of information that came with that IDOS loss, which is, hey, I believe it was the director of Deus Ex. It's just like, yeah, the next game's pretty much dead. We can't do anything. So, can't. Sorry.
Yeah, I think Embracer buying them and Crystal
Embracer's
Dynamics and Gearbox and Lord of the Rings. Embracer owns everything.
And I don't know your history on Deus Ex, Aaron, because I played Human Revolution, and I love Human Revolution.
That's my favorite.
It's an awesome game.
I love it.
I played Mankind Divided. I finished it, and I'm like, well, when's the next game coming out? Because this ain't a game. This is like 2/3 of a game. I want the last third where we actually do something. Because we didn't really do anything. We just kind of ran around in circles for a couple hours.
It really felt like that was an incomplete game. And
I think they even
after
said
Human
that there
Revolution,
was more to do.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been a trilogy or something maybe that they're imagining there. And it just didn't feel as big or as open world as Human Revolution did. That was such a massive game, and I did not expect that. Human Revolution.
And
just blew me away.
The other problem that I had with Mankind Divided is that Human Revolution, you felt the stakes build.
Mm-hmm.
You felt, I'm like initially, there's like a bunch of stuff going on. People are, I as Jensen need to go solve crimes and deal with, basically terrorism to stop it. And then we slowly escalate where it's like, there's more information going on. Hey, those are all the people that put me in my cybernetics to begin with. Let's deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, this is bad.
Dude,
and like you get to the final operation, which is like, this is really bad.
Really bad. The stakes are really high right now. It's hard to top that too. I really feel like it has a Metal Gear Solid-esque kind of story, and the way they handle the boss fights and the characters, like it makes me feel those same vibes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so Mankind Divided just came in, just kind of was like very linear, gorgeous graphics, but like
it looked cool. Yeah,
it looked cool, but yeah, it didn't.
And to that point of like, because I've always known this for performance, where say in a stage show, people will remember the beginning of your show and the end of your show. If your middle's kind of meh, nobody really cares because they usually forget about it. But if you begin strong and end strong, people will remember your piece of media. The problem with that I have with Mankind Divided is that the ending of it, where you're just in Prague and like the entire security force is against you, is a cool concept, but the zone is so small that it's just like, I must run away from the things, and then I can just hide in a shop and let them all congregate into this one hallway where I can shoot them, and then I just remove the threat, and then I just walk to my objective. So yeah, that's very unfortunate, because I was hoping that eventually we would get another Deus Ex game. Speaking of Embracer, let's talk about Saber Interactive escaping the claws.
Yes, absolutely.
500 million to get out of Embracer. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. And I don't think a lot of studios can pull that off without having...
And that was basically to be able to go private, they had to pay 500 million. Yeah, to your point, not a lot of studios can do that. That also makes me wonder about... And personally, I believe that being able to, escape a corporation that is known for kind of thumb on the scale, get me my percentages type dealing, getting away from that is a good thing. Also, going private is a good thing because it allows you to control your studio more and organize how you want to do things. The flip side of that is when you spend $500 million, you gotta have a return on investment for that. You have to make that money back. Right now, what are two Sabers games that they are working on? They are working on the remake for Star Wars Old Republic, which I think will sell a couple million on name alone, and even more if it lives up to what it wants to be. The other game that they're working on is Space Marine 2.
Yeah.
And I am really fucking scared for Space Marine 2 because I would really like it to do well, because it draws more people into the sphere of, that's that Warhammer thing. Yeah, I'll give that a try. And because that's all you need with 40K is you just need that small carrot to pull people in. And then they start exploring, and then it's like the rabbit hole opens underneath you and you get sucked in.
Oh, absolutely. That's where I'm at.
I believe that Space Marine 2 has that potential, but it really needs to, like, and they have since, I don't know what the timeline is of when they delayed Space Marine 2 to September, because it was supposed to come out, basically for Christmas last year?
Yeah.
I think it was.
And I think it was just too crowded, and I don't think it would have done as well.
Mhm.
Especially if it wasn't ready, which we wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
they haven't
And
shown
again,
a lot, you know? There's been very small trailers, and everything looks really, really gorgeous. And
Yep.
that can be scary, because it's like, is this a tech demo, or is this, like, real?
Because the other thing you have to consider is, say, for people who played Space Marine 1,
Mm-hmm.
they are wanting a game that delivers basically that level of experience again. So it's all well and good to have a really polished campaign, and I have full belief that that campaign will be fun, especially because it is four-player co-op, a thing that the first campaign didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
First campaign was just single player. However, the first game also had PvP multiplayer and PvE survival wave-based defense.
Yes.
Both of those have not been mentioned if they are going to be included in the new game.
That would be
and
incredible.
I can understand that it's just like, hey, development-wise, it is not possible to deliver a game that has all three pieces.
Mm.
I'm totally understanding of that. What I would say then is simply give me a campaign and then a 4-player wave-based defense where I get to play dress up with my Space Marine.
Yes.
Then I have my chunk of, I play Titus and the Ultramarine friends as my campaign, and then I can, in the co-op experience, I get to, I want to be from this chapter, I want my armor to look like this, I want to have all these different things, and I want to pick my loadout and drop in with my friends, which would be really advantageous because of the popularity of Helldivers right now, and everybody like enjoying that aspect, and it's just like, hey, Saber, that please?
Just give us something simple that works, and that's your something simple is like a
Yep.
really good horde mode. You
Yep.
know, bare bones of that. It's an immediate knock it out of the park deal. There's another thing we need to talk about with Embracer Group, because one of the interesting things is that they're in trouble now because they've bought all these studios, they own Lord of the Rings, they have theme park rights to stuff, they have a lot of things under their hood, and at their last earnings call, they were literally like crying on the call because their deal, their $2 billion deal that was backed by Saudi Arabia's sovereigns, that kind of falls under, they would, in other terms, they would call it like sports washing. I guess essentially the equivalent of that. And so whenever that deal just didn't go through for them, they were crying on their earnings call, and it was on video too. So I mean, they were just like really sad, and Saints Row had tanked. And really performed below expectations for them, and so they were just like, we're having a really rough time here.
Well, you gotta be tactical with what you buy for what amount of money. You have to look logically. Okay, and what you have to bet against is what is the lowest amount of money that we can make off this, where the cost of purchasing not only purchase of acquisition of purchasing the rights and basically ownership of that thing, but then also the development cost and the releasing costs. Say, for example, with theme parks, if you have ever actually done the research on how much it costs to build, run, and like continue to improve and operate a theme park, it's exceptionally expensive. And the revenue that you have to see coming through the door to pay for that, your margins are so particular. Like restaurants are similar to theme parks where the first couple years you lose money on that investment. So to even buy the property in the first place, to be able to have the rights to it, if that costs an enormous amount of money, you're already fighting a Sisyphus-esque uphill battle with rolling that stone.
Dude, absolutely. I mean, there's a reason why it's probably pretty much only Disney and Universal and a couple others in that realm, because they're already making money off of established franchises before they even got into the theme park game.
Exactly. And it's the thing of, say with Disney, is starting with that from the ground up. Walt was able to build his park because he made so much off of all of the animated films and shows that he said, hey, I want to build a place for fun to entertain families and children and all that stuff, and then building that baseline and building out slowly from there. And it was a feedback loop of, oh, we released a new property that was really a new film or a new show that was really popular. Hey, we have the opportunity to add more to our park. Whereas if you just like, hey, we acquired Lord of the Rings, let's make a theme park. Okay, what about? Okay, we have three really big books / films, and then we have all the Hobbit stuff, and then we have the extended universe stuff. Oh God, what do we do? Like, what do we pick and choose in terms of how do you change this aspect into a theme park aspect? Because it's not a one-to-one transition, because nobody wants to go to the Hell's Deep Cafe and have Urukai waiters yell at you, what do you want for dinner?
Oh my God. It could work, but it's probably in the hands of the wrong people.
Exactly. You need theme park engineers, not investors, to be designing this park.
That's the sentence right there. That's the quote. I think the other thing that's really scary is that Embracer has bought up all these studios, and like with Deus Ex, we're not going to see more games from a lot of these studios, because they're going to look at it and they're going to look at it in terms of a business and say, oh, it's too risky to do another Deus Ex because the last one was not very good. Oh, it's too risky to do another Saints Row. It's too risky to do anything in the Marvel's Avengers realm of stuff, because they cut that as soon as they bought Crystal Dynamics. They were like, oh yeah, this Marvel license seems to be a little too expensive, and that game is not generating any profit. And then beyond that, I mean, the only thing we know that's coming is Crystal Dynamics is doing Tomb Raider in Unreal Engine 5. They're going to do a new game, and we just know that they're working on it. But like, other than that, everything that Embracer has bought, they're just kind of sitting on it like a little gold mine, and kind of like what EA did with Star Wars and other franchises, where they just sat on it. And then whenever they were about to lose the rights, they were like, "Oh, let's make Jedi.
Let's do something. Yeah, let's build something with it." Yeah.
Okay, so beyond that, there's more coming from EA than I thought, because we have EA Motive Studio, who did the Dead Space remake. They are working on an Iron Man game. Cliffhanger, which is also owned by EA, is working on a Black Panther game. Now, we got nothing on these. All we know is they've shown us like an image, so we have nothing there. Of course, Insomniac has a Wolverine game in the works.
Wolverine game, yeah.
Skydance has a Captain America and Black Panther game, and that studio is headed up by Amy Hennig, who did Uncharted and left the studio when Neil Druckmann took over and started doing Uncharted 4 and Last of Us, you know? That's huge.
I await the... Like, if that game comes out, I don't know if I will purchase and play it, but I will 100% want to watch someone play it just to hear the writing, because Hennig's writing is very good, and it was what kind of sold me on when she was working for EA to make that Star Wars game, because it's like, hey, this sounds cool.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, okay. There's a couple things on the way.
And then Arcane is doing a Blade video game.
Right.
And Arcane, what did they just do, right? We haven't had the Arcane
had a conversation about that where it's just like, man, the Blade game looks really cool, and I like Arcane a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, Redfall sucks. Man, I hate, like, it's one of those things where I was not even interested in Redfall when it was sort of like announced and released and shown off. Yeah. But I was almost more interested in it when it became an absolute nightmare, and you got everybody making videos about like actually playing it and the performance of it and all these different things. I think my favorite thing is every cutscene in Redfall is a slideshow.
Oh no! Oh no!
It's a literal PowerPoint.
Oh no! I've seen so many games, especially live service games, pivot to that. They'll have cutscenes in the main campaign, but then the further you get on, Destiny does it. Even Marvel's Avengers did it towards the end of its life cycle. I don't know if it's a budget thing or it's a, maybe they don't want to spend those type of resources on making high quality cutscenes.
Which is interesting because you could almost go back to something like, say, a codec conversation that we had in Metal Gear 1, 2, 3, and onwards, where, like, say with Metal Gear 1, that's just basically two pictures vibrating, basically what my model is doing right now.
We're in a codec call right now.
Two of those talking back and forth, and then maybe some pictures along the way telling a story. And honestly, I'd be more engaged with that than a slideshow.
Yeah, the slideshow just doesn't work for me. It doesn't sell the emotion of what's happening, and I know sometimes they try to make graphics where they move a little bit. Even Metal Gear Solid did that with some of the PSP games, Peace Walker and such. And listen, that art style is incredible, but it is really hard to sell that to people.
Yep.
It's very difficult. Another game that they were talking about that didn't perform very well was, and this is Massive Entertainment that does the Division, stuff like that. They did Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Gorgeous game. It's literally canon to the franchise. They explored new areas, and James Cameron was like, here, this is what you do all this. And they were allowed to do that. And yeah, it just didn't do well. It just wouldn't run on my PC. I would love to play it. I just don't want to buy it again.
It just didn't perform correctly. Interesting.
And it's so gorgeous, but it also, they doubled down on going first person, and I could see how that's key for immersion, but I think in a game like that, some people want to be third person, or they want the option.
Or have it in such a way, like, it was one of those things where it's something that I always really like to say about Destiny, where for most of the time, Destiny is a first-person shooter. You see yourself from a first-person perspective. But when you get back to the tower, or in cutscenes, or when you have certain weapons in your hand, or you are on your Sparrow, you see what your model looks like. So I think there's a way to have a first-person game, but every now and again you have third-person parts of it.
I think they pulled back to third person whenever you ride like whatever the horse is and the flying stuff, all those different things. So it's kind of a compromise, and I think that's actually quite nice.
Yeah.
Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Another thing about EA, they were voted worst company in America twice in a row, back to back.
Twice in a row. And my favorite part, because we were researching, like, hey, what was the full details of that? You have to understand that to become the worst company in the world, and this is from a consumer-facing side, they had to beat out Bank of America, Comcast, and Ticketmaster, especially those final two. That's some tough competition for consumer-facing rage.
I've never heard anyone say anything nice about Comcast. So I've never.
Oh, and it's global. Like I used to live in Canada. It was a well-known thing that just Comcast is the worst provider.
Oh.
Like, we have our own problems of our different generally ISPs are assholes no matter where you go, mainly because of it is the last bastion where a monopoly can exist.
Yeah.
Where legally, under terms, you cannot have a monopoly in a competitive market. There has to be at least some level of competition. But ISPs basically go, okay, there's 3 of us. Okay, you agree that we're not going to change our prices. We're all going to be about the same. Perfect. Let's just provide fucking dog shit service that never changes.
Yeah. And they can't be held accountable for any of that,
And
for
no
not
one can
meeting
challenge
what they advertise. Well, and beyond that, there's some towns, especially here in Texas, where it's so rural, where it's like there only is one provider. So it literally becomes a monopoly in those spots.
Yep.
Jeez. Well, there's your gaming news, folks. Everything looks bright on the horizon.
But at the same time, like, we're having all those things happen and all that effects. On the other side of things, where all these layoffs are happening, we're also having a bunch of openings available. Larian is hiring. Bunch of other studios are hiring. I saw one today I was just browsing Twitter before I went to bed last night. I saw a thing that said, oh goodness, what have you?
Yeah, I sent you that. I didn't mean to disrupt the flow of conversation, but yeah, I gotta hit that to you in a minute.
Fuck, I might have to start playing Call of Duty. God damn it, no.
Yeah,
I don't want to. But I saw Kojima Productions is looking for a brand manager.
Yeah.
What is that job gonna be like? Where it's just like, hey, I'm approving a new brand press release. You just walk into Kojima's office. He's floating in a sphere of perfect energy. And it's like, sumimasen, and you just place it in front of him, and he just looks at it and goes, hi, and just hands it back to you. So Aaron has put in front of me.
Yep. That's some big news
from Call of Duty. Operators are not only as strong as their oaths they uphold. Inspired by Warhammer 40,000 Universe, Space Marines, Sisters of Battle, and Astra Militarum, skins are coming to Call of Duty Warzone.
I never saw that coming, dude.
Modern 3. I don't. So. Let me tell you a little something about Warhammer.
Yeah.
I enjoy Warhammer. I enjoy the collecting side of collecting the models. I enjoy the books. I, in fact, have a list of books that I wanted to say as people who want to get into Warhammer. Hey, here's some books I would suggest that you pick up through either a physical format or audio format. I enjoy various things about it. I enjoy various Warhammer 40k video games. The thing that I dislike the most is the company that owns Warhammer. Because, oh boy, do I have some issues with Games Workshop. Oh, and I'm actually I looked further. So the image that Aaron sent me is the tweet plus an animated GIF of... It's basically an armored plate. The white part at the top has the Imperial two-headed eagle. There's a golden skull, and there's a bit of parchment there. The red seal, interestingly enough, that symbol on the red seal that is the wings and the teardrop shape, that is the symbol of the Blood Angels. Okay. So, and especially that red armor plate, that basically means that one of the Space Marine skins will be a Blood Angels character.
Ooh.
What it makes me also wonder about is how they're going to handle gun skins in Call of Duty, because there are like automatic weapons and basically lower caliber things in Warhammer 40k. It's just the thing of the weapons that are the most entertaining are the ones that are stupid overpowered.
Yeah.
Your bolters, your plasma guns, stuff like that. Now, they did do the Doom 2 shotgun for Call of Duty, where it's literally 3 frames of animation in a shotgun. So I could see them doing a bolter, but believe you me, if they do a bolter and it's accurate to the way that bolters actually work, there are going to be thousands of videos of literally YouTube shorts of here's the new weapon in Call of Duty and look how overpowered it is, where you just take out somebody in literally 2 bullets.
Yeah. Dude, that's so cool.
Oh goodness, fucking I am very interested to see what skins they do. I can already guess Marines, they're going to do like Blood Angels for sure, Ultramarines, Dark Angels, basically a couple different the Loyalist chapters. Sisters of Battle is actually pretty easy because there's only 4 real divisions of Sisters of Battle, I believe. And then Astral Militarium, it's basically they're going to do Cadia, which is the regular guardsman, green armor. They look like Starship Troopers characters, basically. And the other side of things is going to be the Kriegsmen. The Krieg are probably the second most popular Astra Militar. Nah, but Catachin exists. Krieg are very popular because of their look. They're very like heavily inspired by World War I era German soldiers. They wear all gas masks and they do, and there's a whole bunch of stuff with their lore. I wanted to actually touch upon something because a long time ago I told you about. You asked me a question of, do the Space Marines do the coffin dance? And I gave you an answer about the Salamanders doing a thing where when a member of their crew dies, they lower him into a volcano.
Yeah.
I have to apologize because I forgot about something that is a coffin dance.
Oh no.
I need to tell you. I'm going to first ask the question, do you know what the Sisters of Battle are?
No, I guess not. I don't think I do.
Okay. So, going on a short lore tangent here.
Yeah.
The Sisters of Battle are a army of religious zealots in power armor. They are a 100% female fighting force that kind of carve out the middle point between the Astro Militarum Guard and the Space Marines, where they are even some of them are maybe slightly genetically enhanced, but they're basically regular human beings. They do have power armor, but the thing that makes them more powerful is their divine faith in the God Emperor allows them to do things that normal human beings cannot do. They are incredibly powerful in the universe. Now, Marines overclass them because of just they're demigods walking around, so of course they're going to overclass them. But the Sisters of Battle are very powerful. They're also a very popular faction within the Warhammer fandom. They've been around for a long time, and they've been slowly improving the way that they write and design their characters. For a long time, it's like, hey, it's the girls faction. let's make pretty pictures of the girls, and often refer to them as the nuns with guns, which they are. Like, you can't get around the fact that they're just Catholic nuns with big ass guns.
Mm-hmm.
But they've slowly improved that image where they have further stepped away from making them just like overtly attractive supermodels to women in combat who are fucking insane at how like devoted to the faith that they are. So the Sisters of Battle have, I believe it is 4 orders of combat, where Space Marines have X number of chapters. So you have Ultramarines, Blood Angels, Dark Angels, that kind of thing. The Sisters of Battle have. Let me find and there's a whole way that they came to be. I'm not going to explain that. If you would like to know about the history of the Sisters of Battle, please go and find various information, because there's a lot.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of information about them. Blah, blah, blah. Sisters ranks, recruitment. Here we are. There are 6 orders. There is the Order of the Bloody Rose, the Order of the Sacred Rose, the Order of Our Martyred Lady, the Order of the Ebon Chalice, the Order of the Valorous Heart, and the Order of the Ardent Shroud. Each of those orders basically has they do something in particular that makes them special, that makes their army unique. So for example, I believe Argent Shroud have a lot of flying units where they have people on jetpacks, and they'll fly around and attack from the sky, basically. The one that I want to talk about is, where are we here? This is the wrong website, isn't it? There's something called the Tribe of St. Catherine.
And I'm also dropping some links here to Space Marine 2 and Darktide in the chat, in case you guys want to kind of see like the Warhammer stuff we're talking about, like, or if you want to experience the games, you know.
So this, I will send to you this link. This is the Triumph of St. Catherine. St. Catherine was one of the founding saints of the Sisters of Battle. She was then further slain in combat, but they recovered her body. So, she's the founding member of the Order of Our Martyred Lady, who is a venerated triumph through this presence. She is literally carried around in her coffin into battle.
That's crazy.
A powerful source of holy energy, basically. And you can run this model on the tabletop, which is her in her coffin, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sisters surrounding her, and the the multiple cherubs carrying various scrolls and icons. It is a really cool model, but yes, there is a unit that is literally the coffin dance.
Because I saw, when I was looking up like Warhammer GIFs, I think was when I saw the coffin dance, like someone did the meme. Yeah. But this dude, and this figurine is not super expensive either.
For compared to other figures, this is in, I believe, pounds.
70 pounds, not bad. I
believe that's about $90 when calculated over. It's not that bad. Some of them get real bad in terms of cost, let me tell you. As someone who owns I own both Demon Primarchs that were released at the time. I own Magnus and I own Mortarion. I sort of stopped collecting right as they released Angron. Each one of those, what are known as, I can't remember what they're classified in terms of power level, but it's what are they? Lords of Chaos or something like that. Anyways, I'm looking at Mortarion right now. He's 100 pounds, so he'd be like $130. And on release, he was even worse because I remember doing this with a different one, which was a really powerful demon. You could not get stock of this thing because people would just like buy it all up, and then some of them would actually keep and paint it, and then others would just be like, all right, here's the box at a scalped price on eBay. Enjoy. So,
I hate it.
Yes, collecting Warhammer becomes, because the problem is when you buy a model, it's just like, hey, here's the model in the box. I hope you have tools, glue, paint, because that's when the cost starts to jump up.
Yeah, where it starts
all your equipment cost.
Expensive hobby.
Yes, but it's one of those ones that is very, very entertaining to do. In fact, I'll pull open my phone here. I have a bunch of book recommendations for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
That are interested in Warhammer 40k. Because the problem with 40k that is also the thing that I enjoy about it the most is the density of information. The level of detail that the lore exists.
Right.
Once you're in it, you can enjoy like, oh, I'm going to read this part or this part and just enjoy pieces there within. But on the outside of things, it's just like, oh, that's a lot to read. I don't want to do that. So the thing that I think you want to do first with Warhammer is start out small and get a setting, a understanding for the setting. That's why something like Darktide works, where you get that antithesis of like, what does it feel like to be a boots on the ground regular human being in this setting? How much of a nightmare is it to be a human being in 40k?
It's not a universe I would pick if I had to like survive in any Dark Souls or Warhammer or Animal Crossing. You know, like which one would I pick?
Yeah. Which one do you, like if you had to reincarnate into a fantasy universe? Like a lot of people are fans of 40k. Nobody wants to be.
I don't know if I'd want to be in
40k because you, no matter basically what you pick, your end is going to be bad.
I don't think there's a win there.
So I would say that a excellent starting book is a book called First and Only by the author Dan Abington. Dan Abington is a long time fantasy writer. The man has worked on a lot of stuff. He used to write for comics. Yeah, he used to write for Marvel. His works in Marvel include Guardians of the Galaxy, Death's Head 2, Knights of the Pendragon. He worked on Punisher, War Machine, and a couple different X-Men. He then started writing for Doctor Who, and then somewhere in the mix of all that, he got signed on to work on Warhammer. So he wrote Gaunt's Ghosts, which is First and Only is the first book in the Gaunt's Ghosts series. It is about a small chapter of Imperial Guard soldiers who basically have various engagements and adventures fighting the forces of chaos. And it's, if you like Band of Brothers, read First and Only. Actually, what I'd recommend is listen to First and Only. If you ever get an if you ever get an Audible sponsorship, Aaron, there are plenty of recommendations that I would hand to you, because enjoying 40K books through the medium of audiobooks is probably one of my favorite pastimes, because the narrators that they get for these books are very good.
Wow.
So First and Only is a great starting point of Band of Brothers style military guard. A jumping off point from there, also written by Dan Abington, is Xenos, the first book in the Eisenhorn series. Eisenhorn is very much James Bond in the 40K universe, of following Inquisitor Eisenhorn as he investigates a potential chaos incursion in a part of the galaxy. It is very much a smaller scale story that starts to roll into bigger and bigger things as things go on. You can then, the real part from there is basically you look at it from the perspective of, okay, look at the 40K like website or wiki and go, hey, who's an interesting faction of characters that I like? Oh, you like Sisters of Battle? You go read these books.
Mm-hmm.
You like Space Marines? You can go read these ones. You can attempt to look at the section for what is known as the Horus Heresy, which is basically the long-term story of how humanity rose back up to power and started to control the galaxy, found out what chaos is, and then had the Space Marine chapters basically split in half in terms of, we're going to back chaos and the bad guys, and we're going to stay with the Imperium and stay with humanity, and then the war that ensued from there. They were initially going to do like maybe 10 or 12 books within Horus Heresy. There are now 50 of them. I don't know what happened. And here's the thing.
Insane.
Of those 50, I believe 10 or 12 are just on what is known as the Siege of Terra, which is just the battle for Earth. And it's just 10 books of nothing but a war between the two factions clashing, leading up to what are known as the End and the Death, which are 3 books of just the final hour of that war.
Dang. That's a lot.
So much. It's ridiculous.
God.
Now, within that, you can find stuff that's really good. I personally really like a book called The First Heretic by Aaron Dembski Bowden. Aaron Dembski Bowden is a very good author. He is very good at writing the forces of chaos because he humanizes people who are pictured as complete villains.
Okay.
How do you humanize with First Heretic is, how do you humanize what are known as the word bearers, which to many people, the word bearers are some of the most evil chaos faction out there, where they were already insane before stepping into chaos, but then they got even worse when they found out what chaos was and they turned towards it. But First Heretic does an amazing job of, okay, rationalize what would make a group of people question their faith in humanity, and think about, what about that thing over there? What's that about? Let's go investigate and learn. I also very much enjoy Aaron Dembski-Bowden's trilogy on the Night Lords, that begins with Soul Hunter, and then goes to Blood Reaver, and then Voidstalker. Let me tell you, the Night Lords are not good people, but oh boy, do those books make you like sympathize for literal psychopaths, like people that do horrific things, but you go, but they kind of push them to it. Like, you gotta give them a little bit of leeway here. So Dan Abboton and Aaron Dembski-Bowden are my two favorite authors within the Warhammer 40k sphere. And you can find books on tons of different things. I have not read or listened to the Twice Dead King books that are on the Necrons, but I've heard amazing things. I've heard very good things about a book called Brutal Cunning, which is about the orcs and the orcs doing orc things, where the orcs are the comedic group in 40k, where for a setting of nothing but darkness and like just depression, the orcs are having a good time because they live to fight and they fight to live. So yeah, lots of space within there, and that will continue to grow as more content comes out.
That's so crazy. But it's an exciting universe to get into, and I've really enjoyed it. Now, on the topic of figurines and stuff like that, I think when you moved to Japan, I think you discovered some things about various figurines once you got there.
So what I learned, and I had known about this a little bit before, which is Japan obviously has lots and lots of figurines for available because, and they continuously make new ones as new shows and new films come out. Like the industry behind creating new character goods for anime, but also any other property that exists. Like the popularity of Disney in Japan is enormous. Like I am stunned at how popular Disney and by extension Marvel and Star Wars are in Japan. Like there's plenty of things. For example, a while back I sent Aaron this picture of a statue I had bought of Venom that I found in a store. It's just like, oh, this statue's $8. Okay, take it home, open it up. Oh, this thing's mostly still in its plastic wrap. And then I just put it together with, you just slide all the parts together and then it just sits on my shelf. But I have continuously found that statue for $8 as a used figure. And I know for a fact when I open that box, their definition of used is they took the plastic wrap off of it and then they put it back on.
Oh,
like that's their definition of used.
I would gladly take used in their case.
Oh my God,
then
it's amazing. I bought a Nintendo Switch like that.
Oh my God!
I bought an OLED Switch that was used, so it was I think $50 less than retail price. Everything was still in box. Most of the components were wrapped up in their original material.
Jeez.
Like it was brand new practically.
I don't know how that happens. Do you just like unwrap it and you're like, you know what? I don't want this anymore.
I think what happens is that there's sort of two things that occur. Is that one, people use it as sort of a strategy of, oh, okay, I'll hang on to these various figures as I enjoy this series, but maybe my opinions change about it, or like I just don't want them anymore, so I will sell them to a used figurine or whatnot store and then use the money there to purchase something new.
Hmm.
Because you could easily take you could sell off a bunch of figurines or model kits or what have you, and then turn around, take that money, and it's just like, hey, that's a nice looking Godzilla statue. And it's like, oh, I'll use all the money that I just got from selling off these 5 Gundam figurines for buying that Godzilla thing. The other thing that is very conscious is Japanese houses and apartments are very small.
Mm-hmm.
So you have very limited space. So if you get really interested in, say, collecting Gundams, your shelf very quickly fills up with Gundams, and it's like, oh no, I have no more space for the rest of my life. So I need to sell off Gundams so that I have space for life.
Yikes. So that explains why they kind of get rid of stuff. Let's talk a little bit about what the housing situation is like over there, because some of the things I've learned is I've been watching like YouTubers that are buying cheap or abandoned properties in Japan, and they just move in and it's like a tiny house, but like for an American, it's like, wow, you're getting a lot of space for that. And all you had to do was just like move in and spend like 90 grand or something, and you own this now. Like, it's not just like it's paid off. It's not like we're still making payments for the next 30 to 100 years.
It's no longer a mortgage price. It's a I bought and own this property. The amount of times that I am on the train going to work, and I work in a region that is far more rural, so you see a lot of houses on the way by that they're like, some of them you can tell that are either a little run down, and then there's other ones that you can very much tell, okay, that's an abandoned house, like no one lives there anymore. I don't know what the full policy is of how you would acquire an abandoned house, but I'm pretty sure it's not that difficult to do, and it's mainly because nobody really wants one. The reason that there are so many abandoned houses is most people, like most of the proper work and stuff is all in major cities or slightly bigger towns. So the work out in rural areas is not really there, and if you get to a point where you either can't commute either by car or by train, the proper commuting back and forth becomes a hassle, and you don't want to live out in the countryside anymore. You want to be closer to either your family or your place of work or whatnot, so you move further in. But the process of like removing and dismantling a house, that's where things become complicated because of just the different Japanese garbage laws and all that stuff, and the way that you have to organize with a company, and they have to both agree. You have to agree back and forth of what they're going to take with you and whatnot. So a lot of people just say, fuck that, I'll take all my stuff, put it in my car, and I'm going to drive off. Don't even care. Leave it behind.
Wow.
Because on the flip side of things, rental pricing is pretty reasonable. My rent is around, I think I pay about 500 and something total for my apartment. I have to pay electricity and water separately. Those are just bills that I receive in the mail. But all told, I think I'm maybe paying $700 a month to live 10 minutes away from a major train station that can get me like multiple different directions very quickly. So like, yeah, I cannot complain at all at like, yeah, my space is a little small, but then you start to realize very quickly when you have limited space of how much space do you actually need for all your core things, especially if most of your day is going into work and doing things in an office. You really need your home to just be a place to sleep, a fridge full of food, a place to, like, a bathroom that includes a shower, and then like a small a kitchen area to cook at, and then basically everything else is additional auxiliary. So you can live a very easy life therein. Now there is a lot of my thought process that goes, it would be really easy to buy a house here because, oh my god, compared to buying a house in Canada, no.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just impossible.
A brand new house in the city. I'm pretty sure I've looked at it. Brand new house in the city where I live would be about $200,000. $200,000 is still a lot of money.
Yeah.
In Canada, the same house would be, oh, I don't know, $600,000.
Yeah, the comparisons are outrageous.
I don't think I really. And if I wanted to, like, get the true experience of, like you said, go buy a house in the country and fix it, and suddenly I have a enormous property for the price value that is now mine.
Yeah. And a lot of other things is that the schools and other businesses and stuff are abandoned, so I guess you could potentially invest in that as well.
There are multiple. Like, I can walk out to the main street where I live in probably 30 seconds. I can walk out to the main street. I can spot at least 4 buildings that were businesses that are now abandoned. And I'd love to know what it costs to just buy that building and keep it as mine. Like, I just want to own the property and the space. It's like, okay, the property and the space is this much, and then there's probably a leasing agreement for owning that space. But you could very easily take that, shake hands with another company, and start building new business.
Yeah.
Like, it can't be that expensive.
And I think the other issue is that the reason that some of this is happening is young people are moving into the cities, old people move out to the country, and then they retire or they pass away or whatever it may be. And then nobody wants any of that, which is kind of crazy because Japan's really beautiful. The countryside is incredibly gorgeous. It's people's dreams to live there. Like, we make entire fantasies about this stuff.
I would 100%, if I had the time and the money, I would buy a house in the countryside and just figure out all these systems of, okay, I go here to get my food, here's where I need to go to the doctor, the dentist, and you find out all the different places that you need to go. And then you just, like, sit there. I'll send you one picture of the town. This is a smaller town near where I work. And it's at the foot of a mountain range.
Dude, that's gorgeous.
So, yeah, done, easy deal. And then further on from that topic of like living expenses and stuff, because I know you wanted to know about food. Let me send you a picture of last night's dinner.
Oh,
and
no.
I want you to take a guess at the cost of this dinner. Because we're gonna play Price is Right, and you tell me how much you think food like this costs. And last one here. All right. So I bought 3 things to eat, and these are the 3 things. How much do you think this cost?
Oh boy. Okay, so what are we looking at here?
So the first picture there is tuna sushi, where it's just pieces of tuna over rice, and there are 1, 2, 3. There are 9 pieces in that little plate. The next one is a 8-pack of takoyaki, which is it's a small piece of octopus inside basically just a fried ball of dough. And then the third thing is just potato salad.
Okay. So I should probably just tell you in like maybe American dollars what I would think the equivalent might be.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I know fish in the States is usually kind of pricey. And that looks like a pretty decent quantity right there. And then you're talking about a side, which that's like a high quality side. That's not like French fries with my hamburger. This is like a lot of effort went into that. This meal to me, if this were served to me in the States, I feel like the potato salad is a couple dollars. These ball things would be like $5 or $10, $15 on their own. And then your main course is like probably another $20 or more. So I'm thinking 35. This might be a $40, $50 meal at the least. But that's not even including the fact that if this fish is of like some I'm not super educated on fish, but if it's like a super high quality thing and it's like a rare catch and you know you only get this in Japan or whatever and it's got to be imported to the States or whatever, I mean that alone could be $40 or $50. But let's just go with the nice little gentle estimate that I had there of saying that this is a $40 or $50 meal in the States.
$40 or $50 meal in the States. Okay.
And then we have to tip on top of that. In the States,
yeah,
in the States we have to.
So in total, with all combined, because I purchased this at the grocery store, this was a $17 meal.
Oh, I knew it was going to be lower.
My 9 pieces of tuna sushi were $10. It's basically $1 a piece. The takoyaki is about $4 for a 8 piece, and then that potato salad is the large size, where it is it's $3 instead of the $2.20 that it regular is for the small size. Pricing for food in Japan is very good. The vast majority of things are very well priced. Your quality of food is really good. I've had some stuff that is off quality, mainly just because I was lazy and I bought something from the convenience store. But even then, a lot of convenience store food can be pretty good in the pinch. Like, I use it consistently for my breakfasts, where I will just buy stuff from the convenience store as my breakfast food, where I'll come home from work, go to the convenience store, buy my they sell basically a 4-pack of pancakes in a little plastic bag, where it's 2 sets of 2, where they are 2 pancakes are stuck together with maple syrup in the middle of it. That's $1 at the convenience store.
You can't even get that at McDonald's for $1. What do you mean? Oh my god, dude! No way.
You heat that up, and that's you have that with a rice ball, and like you're good to go. The contrary to this is fruit.
Okay.
Fresh fruit is very expensive in Japan, and it's for 2 reasons. One, Japan's climate is designed in such a way where it is very particular about when you can grow produce. And it's actually something that we talk about in one of our chapters for our English classes, is Japan's food self-sufficiency rate, which is the percentage of food that is produced in your country
Right.
to basically provide for all the people that live within your country. Japan's self-sufficiency rate is very low compared to, I think Canada's is like 180%, where we produce enough for everybody in our country and then some, to the point that we can very easily sell it off. I believe America's very much in the same, if not higher than Canada, where
Right.
America produces so much food that there's enough to go around for everybody who lives there, and they can sell off tons to other
And
countries.
we have a lot of farmland. We have a lot of, very good climate controlled area, real estate where we can grow stuff. Whereas Japan is a very small.
It's a very small country. Oh my God, it's small. So the other side of things is that fruit is seen less as a daily essential, where in North America we're taught, hey, you should have at least some fruit every day to have a healthy body. Whereas in Japan, it's a treat. And moreover, it's a gift.
Oh,
if you want to impress somebody, you give them a nice fruit. So I sent you a picture there of some really pretty fruit that looks really nice.
Yeah.
But then you see that price tag and you go, oh no.
Yeah, so what does that mean? What is 5,980 yen?
The easy way to do Japanese yen to American dollars is actually better than yen to Canadian dollars, because the exchange rate is more consistent. Basically, when you have a figure, say like that, $5,980 or 80 yen, just move the decimal point 2. So that becomes $59.80.
What?
So $60 on three apples, 3 peaches, and 2 bunches of grapes. Now they're big, but I'm sorry.
No, that ain't
I'm not
60, bro. That's. I feel like in the States I could get that for like $30 or less, maybe.
Like, even if you went,
and I could get a bigger bag of grapes. I could get more than just that.
Yeah.
But yeah, buying individual apples and peaches, I feel like that's pretty inexpensive. And then grapes, you can often just get like a massive bag of like enough to suit you for a month, you know?
Yeah, you can go to a farmer's market and buy a bag of apples for $9 or something.
So I see how that could become some sort of delicacy, where instead of buying someone flowers, you get them a gift of fruit, because it shows I'm thinking of you and this is a rare treat and a dessert.
Yes.
But also your portions are different, right? You're not eating American portions when you're over there.
Our portions are generally smaller. That said, the amount of food you can get for like on a price to quantity basis, it's pretty in line. Like, there's not a ton of times where I'm like, oh, I got ripped off for the amount of food that I got. So, for example, one of my favorite places to go when I'm coming home from work and I need some food is this ramen shop.
Oh, this looks good.
So that is a bowl of ramen with the toggles for 4 pieces of chashu pork, extra noodles, extra bamboo shoots, and a side of white rice. That is, I believe, $14.
That's not bad at all.
That's not bad at all, because that's a lot of food, let me tell you. Like, if you eat all the noodles and all the pieces of meat and all the bamboo shoots and then drink your ramen afterwards with your side of rice, you are full.
Yeah.
Like, you are very full. So yeah, I would. It's one of those things where you can go to certain. I've gone to some restaurants where I felt like there wasn't a ton of food that was provided to me. And the biggest thing is, say certain. I'll give the example of Italian food.
Mm-hmm.
I love Italian food. And Japan has actually quite a bit of good Italian food. They know how to make good Italian pasta and good Italian pizza. The thing is, their portion sizes are small. Because when I think about getting a pizza, I'm thinking about getting a pizza.
Yeah, you're thinking about a big one,
pizza. Whereas it's just like, here's your pizza, sir. And it's just like, all right, I'm going to eat that in 4 bites. Thank you.
Oh, so it's more like they give you a personal pizza rather than
pizza. Yeah.
Oh. But they also don't have the obesity problem that we do in the West.
No, and I think one of the other things with that is a lot of the way that Japan is structured as geographically as a country. Because of your ease of use of public transportation, it's very easy to, like, I don't own a car, but I can still continuously travel and go to various places. I just need my train pass and enough money on my card to keep going. So what you end up doing is you end up walking and standing all the time. So the amount of energy that you burn from just walking around and doing things and exploring different places, going into stores, looking at things, there is that evidence of just they've built a structure that allows you to continuously burn calories by just moving around. There is also a cultural thing of 100% they will, like, it's this weird dance of they will never be aggressive with you about their opinions because culturally it's not okay to share your opinion. It's very much against the way that Canada and the US believe, where very much in Canada and the US you are supposed to share your opinion. And some people will get very angry when they're not allowed to share their opinion.
Sure.
So what you have to do is you have to do it basically passively or do it in such a way where you have to read between the lines of how you see things and say something about, say, if somebody was a bit overweight and they were a little heavier, somebody might say, Japanese sizes in terms of clothing, they seem to be smaller than the Americans, don't they? Which is just code for lose some weight, fat ass.
That's I get the intention though.
I get the intention, and there are other ways, like they do it more eloquently than I have there.
Other ways that it can be said, huh?
But there is definitely this very much public image of the lifestyle of being thin and lean is the way to be, and you should work towards that. If you don't, we are going to judge you quietly.
Quietly and politely, huh?
Quietly and politely. There's been, and as being a teacher, I have gotten a little bit from my students where they'll like, I'm a heavier guy, they'll come up and I've had a couple of them that have pat my belly and I'm just like, what? Guys, come on. And I'll see it, they'll do it to their other teachers as well. I'm just like, bro, he's thin. Have you seen him compared to me? Like he's thin and trim, like he's in good shape. Like So, but then on the flip side, I've also seen it with some of my other students where I noticed like they're very opinionated about their physical feature, and like they eat certain amounts of lunch in a particular way, and it's like, no, you guys are in junior high school. Your body is still growing. You need every ounce of protein and calories that you can take right now because you want to grow as much as possible.
Right. And they're like, no.
No, I want to be thin and trim. It's just like, nobody fucking cares, dude. You're in junior high school. Nobody cares.
Wow.
Like, eat your food, do your work, and enjoy your sports, and just live your life. Nobody cares.
So in terms of clothing, is that an issue? If you're just a little overweight, is it difficult to find clothing?
So what I've found is that what's interesting is, say for me, where I'm a bit heavier, but I'm also I'm 5'10" and I've got relatively broad shoulders. So my default size in because Japanese sizing is different than North American sizing. It's different than they use a different measurement system for their clothes. Like, it doesn't go small, medium, large, extra large. It goes small, medium, large, 2L, 3L, 4L. So instead of using the moniker of extra and large or extra extra large, they just add more L's.
More L's. It's a big L you're taking there.
Big L's that I'm taking there.
God.
Even bigger when most stores don't carry 2L clothing.
Oh,
they go from, say, small to large, and that's it. That's all that's on the rack. If you want to get a large, you have to either go to particular stores that carry a wider variety, such as, say, Uniqlo, or there are stores that are just designated for, we start at L and go to 5L.
5L.
Like, we are they are the big and tall stores.
Oh, yeah, see? I was wondering about the big and tall.
Of course, they don't call them big and tall. Do you know what they call them, Aaron?
Oh, no.
There's a brand called Size Max.
Size Max. Oh my
and
God, that's
nothing helps your self-esteem like walking into a Size Max ready to buy some new dress shirts.
Oh no. They're quietly shaming you with their brands.
Quietly shaming you. I've heard in other countries, say like Singapore and stuff like that, they're not quiet about shaming you. Like,
oh no,
they'll put the piggy symbol on the
no, not the piggy. That's so mean.
Yeah, and I think that in women's clothing, it's even worse. Like, men's clothing, they can kind of get away with it, where it's easier. Like, I've seen more bigger. Like, I've seen people in Japan, Japanese people who are taller and more built than me. Like, that are big guys. Either they're professional trainers or they're athletes or something like that. And even some of the students that I teach, it's like, you boys are big. Like, you are country boys where you're big and strong. So I think there's a bit more space there where there's more clothing offered for larger sizes of male people. But if you're a tall lady in Japan, I can't imagine what it's like to buy clothes, because you got to go to specialty stores or just go to stores that custom build clothes.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that's a interesting hurdle to jump through.
I guess on the other end of that, what's it like being there as someone that's not native, you know? What's that experience like?
You will very quickly start to for a long time, you'll see out of the periphery people that stare at you.
Okay.
And like that will continue to be a thing, and it doesn't make me like angry anymore that people stare at me. It's just like, people are going to look at me because I'm different. And especially where I live, I don't believe there's too many like people of my skin tone of a white person in multiple kilometers in any direction, kind of thing. So I'm also a person where I'll lean into it a bit more, where like I have, like, when it's wintertime, I have a big silver coat that is around me, and like it's when I walk around with it, like I walk with like shoulders back, head held high, like I know that I'm not from here, and that's okay, kind of thing. And then like on my off days, my leather jacket of choice to wear is like wine red with silver zippers and stuff like that. I'm going to lean into it because I'm never not going to stick out.
Right.
Most people have been like, what I've found to be true is basically all Japanese people are polite because it's a core part of their culture and foundational to who they are. Now, the percentage therein between the difference between politeness and being kind and helpful is different, because I've encountered people that are like, I remember one time I had to go to the bank to fix an issue. I needed a transfer made to pay a bill. And I ended up talking to a teller who I don't think she didn't really speak English, but she was super accommodating in terms of helping me out, figure out what I needed to do on the form. And the one time she had to ask me a question, she pulled out, like, she got a tablet from behind the counter and typed in a translating thing and showed it to me, and I said, that's okay. And I know enough Japanese, I know enough basically answering Japanese to say, like, yes, that's okay, or no, that's not, basically. So there are people like that where people in the service industry, either like the bank counter, especially people at the grocery store and the convenience store, they're all very, very polite. They want, like, they're just going to do their job and try and be happy about it as much as possible. And say, like, the teachers that I've worked with, they're all really nice people, and like they figure out a way of, like, how do we have a good experience between us two, where I provide the support that's best for them, and they provide they tell me exactly what needs to be done in such a way where we both feel like a good engagements. I've had the flip side of that where they very much, like, I had that with one time with the post people, where I was getting my card that basically my residence card, I had to get had to get a new one printed because I got basically renewed for another year to stay here.
Okay.
I was told by my company, hey, we need to take your current card to send it off to Tokyo so that a new card can be made. In the meantime, we will send you a photocopy of your card so that it can be used when your new card comes in. You go to the post office and here's my proof of address. Here's my card. Here's the thing. My company that I worked for said, yeah, that should be okay. When I got to the post office, that was not okay.
Not okay. No.
They vehemently told me multiple times, we cannot accept photocopied versions of this card.
Well, yeah, that makes sense to me. It's like you don't give out your real social security card or your government ID. You don't give anyone the actual copy. You let them photocopy it.
Yeah.
Vice versa.
The trouble is, the piece of mail that I was trying to receive was literally, hey, I basically all I wanted them to do was literally open up the envelope, and I could literally hold up the card beside the printed thing and say, hey, don't these look the same?
Yep, it's me.
Therefore, give me my mail.
Yeah.
So I had quite an experience with that, and I immediately opened up my phone and told my company, like, hey, you told me this was going to work, and they told me they do not do that. Please put that information across to every other teacher like this, because if you don't, we're all going to have the same experience, and we're all going to be very angry about it. Because
yikes.
Dealing with
Mm.
Dealing with corporate bodies in terms of getting information and whatnot is already painful.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a language barrier on
it's
top
even
of that,
worse.
it becomes worse because you are attempting to explain what you want.
Mm-hmm.
You constantly have your phone out in terms of translating what you want to say, and of course, like something that you learn very quickly is Google Translate for Japanese works for like the most basic sentence, but anything beyond that, it just loses it. It doesn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like it has no understanding of how the complexity of Japanese in terms of translating it.
Yikes. So in terms of customer service, do you feel like there's a difference there between here in the West? Often we're working for corporations and we don't want to be there. We don't really care if our customers are satisfied because I'm just a slave to the corporate overlords.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas it seems like in Japan, it's like they're a little more like, I want my day to be pleasant, so I want my experience with you to be pleasant. I want you to be as satisfied as you can be. Is that kind of ingrained?
I fully believe that. I fully believe that it's this thing of the idea of if I do my job well,
Mm-hmm.
like it's a feedback loop. If I am positive about my work and what I do, the people that interact with me will gain that positivity and have a positive experience. And generally I've felt that to be perfectly true. And it's very like they are very accommodating where like especially with me because it's evident from Mark 1 that hey, he's not going to speak a lot of Japanese just from looking at me. They are very helpful. Like say the people at the the convenience store. I'll come up, I put my things on the counter. They always ask, hey, would you like a bag? And some of them will even like they have a little thing on the countertop that is a picture of the bags and the different prices of the bags. Like say the small bag is say 5 yen or 5 cents, and then the big bag is 7. So they'll sometimes tap that and it's like, do you want those? So I'm like, no, I'm okay, thank you. And like it's one of those things of they will always say thank you for coming in to shop with us. And the other side of things is because bowing is such a core part of the culture, you get used to bowing to each other in thanks to each other, and all the people in service industry are very good at bowing in such a way that makes you feel like an important person.
Wow.
Because I don't know if you've ever heard about, there are different degrees of angle of bow.
Larry David has shown me that this is a thing.
Okay.
I think he does a bit about it.
Because we had it as actual information for when we were coming over to be as teachers. It was one of our sort of learning episodes was we learned about, hey, sort of like it's a small bow as greeting to generally anyone. It's more like say a 30% when you're acknowledging one of your superiors, one of your teachers that you're working with. If you are speaking to the principal of your school, like it's a full like committed, you are bowing and accepting his or her presence to that, and then it escalates further from there. The upper echelon of that is when you make a mistake. You can go basically full horizontal with your body, where you become a right angle triangle.
Oh wow!
And if you really fuck up, like you really fucked something up, you get on your hands and knees and bow.
Oh no!
I gratefully have not had to do that.
You haven't had that fuck
up. I definitely fucked things up and very much like bowed for that. Or I also just, like, as a Canadian, we are constantly saying the phrase sorry.
Sorry.
So it's
Yep.
just part of our core culture to do so. And it's also a core part of Japanese culture where constantly people are apologizing for stuff. And it's just like, most of the time, the Canadian response to that is if somebody does something, it's like, oh, it's okay. It's no problem at all. But then there's other times where they like there's an apology and it's like, oh, thank you. Thank you for apologizing. That's appreciative to me. So yeah, I would say that I felt that the service in most regards has been really good. There's a couple spots that like there's definitely a bit of attitude, and it's mostly just attitude in terms of I can tell that you are a foreigner and you do not speak in Japanese. Like, when I take my dry cleaning in today, I'm very interested to see who's at the shop because there's one lady who really likes to give me fucking attitude. And it's mainly because I won't sign up for their rewards card. I'm like, fuck you, I don't want your rewards card.
You don't want the rewards card?
I don't want to give you my my private information for the fucking rewards card. Just take my money and clean my shirts, please.
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
So, yeah.
And I guess getting into that, what's your experience with the language? Because you got into it a little bit with the translation. Are you able to read, speak, write, any of that?
So, what I can do is, and it's something that I've explained a lot to my students, where it's something where it allows me to be on a similar basis to them, where learning a language is very much learning how to do 4 different things. It's learning how to listen to the language and understand what's being said. It's learning how to speak the language and understand like what you want to say and saying the correct words at the correct tonality and all these different things. It's learning how to read the language and being able to read what words are on the page and understanding what they mean. And it's about learning to write the language as it goes. Now, I'm somebody who I learn very quickly through listening to things. Like, I am an audio-based learner. That's how I consume my media. It's how I understand and collect information. It's if I hear stuff, I very quickly learn and understand it. So I have learned to listen to a lot of Japanese, and slowly over my study of various other things, I've come to understand, okay, if I understand word here, 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 and here in the sentence, and the sentence ends like this, given a bunch of other context clues, I believe the sentence entirety means this. And there's a percentage of the time where I am correct and I have fully understood what was said. And it actually catches some of them off guard, like especially when I go to work at the school. It catches them off guard. It's like, he understood that? How? And it's even better when I respond in Japanese.
Oh, yeah.
Where a lot of the kids, they'll be like, oh, I'm trying to, and they'll be speaking to, like, they'll be working in groups and they're working back and forth on how to translate something. And they'll finally translate it to correctly. And I just stand there and say, so. And it just that's a very base form of saying, yes, you're correct. And they look at it and they go, hey, what? You understood that? And it's like, yes, I did.
Oh, that's really cool.
I always phrase it as, because the first question that's going to come out of most people's mouths is, Nihongo hanashimasu ka? Which is, can you speak Japanese? My response is, Skoshi Nihongo hanashimasu, which is, I speak a little Japanese.
Okay.
And I do, like, I speak just the right amount of words here and there. I can definitely further escalate my learning to an exceptional degree. And it's also due to working in a school and doing all that. Like, I'm constantly sitting there listening, trying to understand, and slowly gaining pieces of information that help me with either just learning things or just learning key pieces of information of, oh, that's how you like, the amount of times I've gone, that's how you translate that phrase of English into Japanese. It's just like, wow, that is, yeah, I guess that would make sense, because that word in Japanese means this in English, and you go basically back and forth in your head between, okay, that means that means that means that, and that means that. So logically, it goes like this. Oh, okay, in this case, it's actually a little different because it's closer to this definition of this word. And it's all these different, like, Japanese is a very complicated language in terms of the way that it's structured, but there are some parts of it that I think are better structured than English. My favorite example is numbers. Like most languages, Japanese has a word for each of the first starting 10 numbers. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then when you get to 11, instead of saying 11, you just say 10, 1. You go ju ichi. And then for 12, you just say ju ni, which is 10, 2. You can keep going. You get to 20, and you just go 2, 10, ni ju, instead of having a new word as in 20.
Interesting.
So it allows you to count way faster, because that's one of the hangups that we always have when we're teaching English, is when we get to 11, 12, because everything else in that range makes sense, where it's 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, so on and so forth. They're all number teen, 16, 18, so on and so forth. But for some reason, 11 and 12, I don't know, we just made it up.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make sense.
Same thing goes for the structure of certain sentences, such as questions. Any question ends with the phrase ka, so you can attach ka, where you have the verb plus ka makes it into a question about the word. That's where you get hanasemasu ka, which is related to a question about speaking. Nomimasu ka, can you drink? Tabemasu ka, can you eat? So on and so forth. And same thing for a negative statement, where it becomes masen, where you just add n to it, and it becomes, oh, that's a negative statement.
Negative.
So there are parts of the way that Japanese is structured that once you learn them, it allows you to understand stuff a whole lot easier. Now, reading and writing it is still a very much in progress thing, because especially when you get up to the level of attempting to read and understand kanji, kanji is different than many other things, where, say, with English letters, I'll take the letter A, capital letter A. How you design that A, where you do, like, say, the first stroke, first line up, and then one line down, and then one line across to make a capital A, you can kind of do that in any order that you want with those 3 lines. Kanji has a stroke order. You must input the lines in this particular order, or the kanji character will not look correct. And because you have so many kanji characters that are very close to each other, and it's just a slight difference in the way that they are constructed, you have to be careful about the way that you write kanji characters in Japanese. So what that involves is you sit there with a notebook and you practice every chance that, like, that's most of my mornings is I'll just sit there and practice kanji, which has won me a lot of points with my fellow teachers, because even like instead of sitting there doing nothing, they'll just look over and it's like, oh, he's doing something. Yeah, and he's like, and it's one of those things where I will sometimes show it to the kids, and it's like, yeah, this is what I do in my off time. And it's like, wow, and then the teacher will chime in and it's like, hey, if you guys did that with your practice, you'd be even better too. And it's just
wow!
Like this jab at them, and it's just like, because many times with English, we want them to practice writing, because the disparity between kids that have like, hey, that's like some of their calligraphy in terms of writing is amazing. Like they write beautifully and I can perfectly read what's said. And then other kids where it's just like, is that a letter? Or is that a fish? I can't tell.
No.
Like, did you just like, it's literal scribbles on a page. It's just like, the only way that you get better at this stuff is that you have to sit and practice. Like, Mr. Andrew does it. Like, look at his book. He's practiced all the time. But you didn't. So we'll go with that.
So in terms of being mostly an English speaker, is getting by in that environment, is it pretty doable? I mean, obviously you're taking better steps to learn the language, and you have translation software in your hand, and you know, you work in a place that fosters your growth and understands your situation. But are there like places where it's like, oh, we don't speak English at all, or like, oh, there's really no one to help you here and you're just boned?
It's one of the things that limits me from eating out at certain restaurants is that it's really easy to tell by, because usually what I do is I'll walk past the place and I'll look at, say, the pictures or the writings on the windows or the door to the building in terms of a restaurant. And it will usually show like, hey, here's all the different things. When the menu and all that stuff is written in handwritten Japanese, something that a phone camera cannot translate, I'm like, you know what? This place is probably great and has great food and great drinks. I unfortunately don't think, because it's also me as a person, I don't want to be a pain to people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to walk in and like, I would like a cheeseburger with extra fries. Like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, I'd rather go in and like be respectful to the place. Like, hey, I would like to sample the food at your restaurant. It looks interesting. Because I remember the first time I was in Tokyo, when I first got here, I went to a spot where chef spoke a little bit of English. And the nice thing was he had translated his menu into English, because there's just enough foreign tourists in Tokyo that it's advantageous to just do it no matter what. And then all you do is just like, you point at the thing and say, this please. And they understand that. And I had a great time. Like, when you get going with these chefs and stuff, because they love doing what they do. Like, the reason that they became a chef or server or something like that is because they actually enjoy that side of things, and they want to talk about food and drink and culture and all that kind of stuff. So you can have good experiences, but you have to be very, like, you have to pick and choose where you go and what you want to do. And it's also an advantageous to me of like, find people who do speak Japanese and want to keep going and talk about stuff, because that's how we find common ground, and hey, I can help you order and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so have you made friends through that at all?
I've made a few connections. I'm still looking to make more as it goes, and I really want to push forward to making more deeper connections with some of the people that I teach with, because some of the teachers that I work with, either directly through them being English teachers, or they are just other teachers at our school. They're great people to hang out with. And it's one of those things where we've like spent enough time around each other that even though they don't speak a lot of English and I don't speak a lot of Japanese, we kind of understand each other just on like you watch the people, like the amount of information that is communicated through body language and facial expressions is enormous when you really think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, well, I hope that works out for you, because, I mean, that's quite a little challenge, but like you said, you've been there long enough that you've probably kind of established some sort of connection and communication relationships.
It's something that I saw relatively recently, because there's tons of videos about people who have been English teachers in Japan or are currently English teachers in Japan, and one of the core things that comes out is while getting a English teaching job in Japan is probably the easiest way to get into Japan. If you want to stick with it and be an English teacher, you foremost have to want to be an English teacher. You can't come here with, oh, this is my ticket into Japan, I'm going to have so much fun doing various things, and then teaching is just there to basically pay the bills. No. Teaching is your focus.
Yeah.
That said, it becomes that thing of if you can make your job fun, you will enjoy going to your job. Where if you enjoy being a teacher and you enjoy interacting and working with the students and helping them, you will have an exceptionally great time. Now, it's dependent on a lot of exterior factors that you oftentimes don't have a ton of control over, in terms of where you're sent, who you have to teach with, and all those different things. Like, I've been extremely lucky where I got a wonderful school with a great set of teachers to work with. And like the vast majority of the students I have, like, I enjoy working with. There are some that are a pain because I've found that my sort of bar for patience with the students is such where the kids I enjoy working with the most are actually the ones that aren't the best at English.
No.
But it's the ones that they are very honest and open about how much help they want or need.
Okay.
The kids that are able to say, hey, Andrew, can you help me?
Oh.
Those are the kids that I want to work with the most.
Yeah.
Because there are the other kids where I can see statistically you are having a tough time with English. However, that is because of like a various number of factors, but top of the list is you don't want to. If you want to expand and excel at this, you have to want it. And there's a very hard difference between that kid over there that's got they're getting 40s on their tests, but they're trying. They're trying to claw their way up this mountain that is learning our goddamn language, to Jimmy over there who's got a 10, and it's because he just doesn't care. Where if Jimmy cared, he might have a 40 or a 50. So I have way more time to those kids that like constantly ask for me to check their stuff or look at stuff, and they'll actually pull me over. And what they've found is sometimes they don't have enough English to be able to explain what they want to say, but I have enough Japanese, and like the amount of time that you can charades your way into an answer is amazing. Learn to talk with your hands. Oh my goodness. Well, and it's something where I kind of clash with some of my teachers, where some of the teachers like, no, they should be using English fully, and they shouldn't communicate with gestures. No, talk with your hands.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's all it takes is like for you to explain something. Like you say I went to the store today and bought a carton of milk versus I went to the store today and you're walking with your fingers and bought a cup of milk and you literally hold up a phantom cup of milk in your hand. Suddenly, I
Connections
understand.
are made. Yeah.
All you need to do is add a little bit of gesture to that and suddenly their brain works, because we are all different types of learners. Sometimes we listen to stuff and we understand it. Sometimes we need to see pictures and we understand it. Sometimes we need to physically do it and we understand it.
Yeah.
So you have to help the students depending on what they have. So yeah, if you enjoy that aspect of it, and if you I have found my greatest happiness is when students finally click over and they understand something and they achieve something, or they get 5% more on their next test. That's the stuff that I enjoy the most, and that's what makes me happy. Also, it's the thing of when you especially as me, as living alone in a city that is primarily no other foreign people. Most Japanese people won't go out of their way to talk to you on your way to the street, because they're focused on their lives and they don't really want to talk to you, and they're also very shy. Whereas when I'm at school, the kids constantly they say hello to me and they want to talk to me and they want to socialize. They want to learn about stuff. They'll constantly ask about hey, what do you do for fun? Where do you go? Do you play games? Do you like anime? All these different things.
Right.
It's that wanting to interact. So when most of your home time is people who don't really want to talk to you, it makes you want to go to school, because that's where all my people who want to talk to me are.
Yeah, that almost seems really lonely that they are so focused on their own lives and their own people and getting where they're going. Whereas, here in the States, you can bump into someone and
you can strike up all the conversation at somebody at the coffee shop. Notice, say, hey, they've got a Star Wars pin on their bag or something. You go, hey, that's a cool pin. Like, oh, thanks, man. And you have a conversation. Try and do that in Japan, people will give you weird looks.
Oh, no. Oh, man. That's so cool, though. Overall, it seems like it's a positive experience and you enjoy being there, and you're re-upping for another year, I guess.
Yeah. No, it's been a really good, as I say to many people, teaching in Japan is a very emotionally rewarding experience. And then if you can just stabilize the financial aspect of enough where you've got enough to pay your rent and cover all your bills and keep yourself fed and happy, you can have a really good life where living a very simple life in Japan is very easy to do.
That's beautiful.
Mm-mm.
I think one last thing that I was thinking of was about how you spoke about people are their career becomes their life in a way. People that teach are really passionate about teaching and their focus is on that. Chefs, vice versa, cashiers, all that thing. Whereas here in the States, it's more of a means to an end. It's like, I'm only a cashier until I get to the next level.
Pay the bills, yeah.
And it's strictly to pay the bills. I don't really care about my job, unless you're in certain fields where, you're a musician, you really care about your job. Your passion is your life. We don't often, a lot of times in college, we try to chase what we're passionate about and we try to get jobs, but then we don't really land those jobs in the end, or we major in something but end up getting a job in something drastically different.
Absolutely. One of my perfect examples of that is one of my side hobbies is I like to collect and use fountain pens.
Okay.
Pens that have that pointed tip.
Yeah.
They're not
I
ballpoints.
love those
They're
pens, man.
proper. They're beautiful to write with, and Japan has 3 of the best fountain pen companies in the world. So they produce amazing pens. What you then get from that is people who love pens and know absolutely everything about pens. I randomly was wandering around Nagoya one time, and I wandered onto a side street just because, like, oh, I'm going to go this way and then see what's out there and then probably head home for the day. And I wandered in, and I see this shop, and it's like, ooh, tiny little shop, walk in. I start looking at all the cases and all these different things, and eventually the owner of the store comes out and speaks with me. He didn't speak a ton of English, but spoke a little bit, and then he eventually he pulls out this book. He sets it on the table, opens it up, and it's a numbered list. And it's every pen that he's got for basically for sale and collection in his thing. And he's got pens from the 1920s that he's collected from either people who don't want them anymore or bought them from auctions. And he explained the entire thing about, hey, here's how you repair them, and here's some of the weird quirks about older pens where they used to have cork inside the vial that contains the ink. Problem with cork is it decays over time, so you have to go in there, remove all the cork, dismantle all the pieces, then get a new rubber stopper in there, and then reassemble the pen in such a way that it still functions.
Wow.
So this man has committed basically his entire life to learning everything there is to do about pens.
Wow.
And he loves pens to the antithesis, and it is why every time I get a new pen or I need a new cartridge or I need new ink, I always go to his shop to buy from him. Even if we don't talk a ton,
that's wholesome.
I like giving him business because I know that he cares about his thing and he wants to see people use pens, and his entire other side of the business is taking in pens that are broken and repairing them.
Wow. I don't think we do that here. We just throw them away, It's
out
of ink, throw it away.
It's out of ink,
broke,
throw it away.
Throw it away.
Throw it away. Yeah. No,
we're wasteful.
So for every aspect, if you want to find the guy the guy or girl who knows the most about fishing in the world, you could find that person here in Japan. You want to find the person who knows the most about baking or gardening. People find their niche and they're like, this is my, and it's also the difference of company difference. In North America, the new standard is, you're going to work for 10 different companies. You're going to change companies every couple years, either due to changes in your life or, as we talked about at the beginning of the show, of sometimes they just go, corporate earnings are down, fire them, just get rid of them. Whereas Japan is very much, I'm going to stick with this company for the next 20 to 30 years. This is my life, is working in this company and then slowly moving my way up the ladder.
Well, we used to have that loyalty in the States, but not really.
Not anymore.
Huh. That's so incredible that they have so many things like that I'm so envious of. I really miss that kindness and that individual care for stuff. Sometimes you get it here in rural states and rural areas. You get people that are really appreciating their craft, even if it's an outdated and niche thing. Some people are really passionate about what they do. Huh. It's such a rare phenomenon, and I don't know, I'm very envious of the kindness that they show to others and the respect and the politeness, and a lot of that stuff is dropped over here as well. Because we don't make it a part of who we are and how we raise our kids and things like that. Huh. Yeah. I think we had one last topic we wanted to get into, which was content creation and video ideas. What have you got on that?
So that's like that's one of those things where when your main job is talking and helping people for a living, it burns a lot of your energy in terms of being able to come home and stream and do that. But I do like when I have the energy, I like to do it on weekends and whatnot. And there's also, as we kind of touched on before, is there's lots of, and it was actually something that I saw today, is there's all these wonderful ideas about starting a new project, is drawing up all the documents about like, hey, here's this idea that I have, let me put some energy into doing it. And then a lot of projects, they stop right there.
Yeah.
You get to the drawing phase in terms of what you want to do, but then like time or other factors come through and you just don't get to the point of designing the next phase of it or beginning to record it or what have you in there within. So the amount of stuff that I have on that back burner of wanting to do but never getting to is quite a bit. Like I'd say the most recent example I have in my files here is lots of different ideas around Dungeons and Dragons stuff, where I had a bunch of different ideas for campaigns and storylines built together, but then just no time to continue to facilitate them. In terms of videos, I'm trying to think of something that I wanted to do but never got to really do it. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't
Drawing
know.
a blank.
Yeah, like I think there's plenty of stuff that I ended up, and there's also the cadence of, I'm looking at my videos here, of stuff that you start but then that you take so long to return to that it's just like, I almost be worth starting again. Like say when I first played Marvel's Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man game, which I absolutely love. I think it's such a good game. I only streamed the first I think it was like the first 3 hours of the game, and then the rest of the time I just played it for myself.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I never finished streaming all that.
And you just look back and you're like, it's been so long, you almost have to re-engage the audience from the start.
Exactly.
Which I've done that with several games, and there's several playthroughs that are either incomplete, and some I know that I'm like, I'm never going back to this. And then there's others that I'm like, it's been on a list, and it's like, I'm going back. But, you know, I just need to get to where there's a dry spell. And really, 2023 had no dry spell. And
no, it's just been
this year's pretty aggressive,
stuff.
too. From the start, 2024 has had some games that I'm interested in. Games now are a lot of them are very live service. They demand a lot of your time. Season passes, battle passes. Your attention needs to be always on a select set of games, so therefore it's like you don't have time to go back and venture to the ones that you were enjoying previously.
Absolutely. Yeah, like say one of my mainstays for my overall like niche of content creation and all that was Warframe, and then for a long spell I took just a long break. I've been getting back into it as of recently with new systems that they added to the game, but even then, just returning to a live service game and catching up on all the stuff that you missed. Some of it's fun to do, but then other times it's kind of strange to do due to, say, like some stuff was like built in such a time period and niche where it only worked in that niche where say you had a system where some new piece of content comes out and there was enough people around to get full group. Say it was a dungeon activity where you needed 4 people in a team.
Oh yeah.
If you're coming back to a live service thing with a lower population that you very much need a team for, doing that content again would be really tough to do.
Yeah, that happens. I mean, especially with Destiny, it's like, oh, why do I want to go play that old activity? I already have the gear from that. The gear's not good anymore. Everybody knows it's not the meta. Stuff like that gets lost. And there's even things that don't even exist in Destiny anymore that if you miss that, it's gone. Yeah, sunsetting and vaulting of content, you know, various things they did in the past that I really disagree with. I mean, the fact that the vanilla Destiny campaign is no longer playable, you know, what you bought the disc to play is no longer included.
There.
You can't do it.
Yeah. Are there any like ones that stick out in your mind, Aaron, of like ideas of, oh, I'd love to do a video or a series on this topic or thing that you like sort of wrote about, like, hey, we structured it out like this, we can do all this, but then there was some reason you never got to it?
Yeah, I mean, I think with the Metal Gear Solid stuff, I've always wanted to do, because I played all that before streaming was big, so I was like, I played this, I lived it, I did like, you know, challenge runs where you try not to kill anybody or whatever, or different runs like that, or you're going after collectibles or secret cutscenes and secret endings and stuff. And I really miss that. And I feel like if I jumped into it today, because of how long it's been, it would feel like I'm a noob playing Metal Gear again. It would just be like, these controls, I got to get back into how weird they are. And then I got to remember all the secrets and remember where things are. And you know, you're going to know-it-alls coming in the stream and being like, you know, you missed this, or you need to grab this, or actually, I was reading an article and this voice actor was superior. And it's like, you know, you have to deal with all the flack. So I think, and I dealt with a lot because I was starting a chronological playthrough, but I didn't want to do 3, I think. I don't remember why I didn't want to start with 3. I was going to, but I felt like playing 5, and I didn't want to play 3 to get to 5. So I was like, and I knew I had to play Peacemaker. So now my chronological playthrough is already out of order. So I've done 5, and I figure we'll go back to 3 and go from there and do the series chronologically. And I think I'm more interested in playing the game that way, because I played it in release order, and it's very confusing. And feature-wise, maybe it makes sense to play it that way because the features get more robust the later you go.
Right.
Whereas, you know, with the Batman Arkham games, like, it's weird if you play Origins first and then you play Arkham Asylum, because it's like, Arkham Asylum has less detail and less robust combat options and stuff, and it's very linear Metroidvania, open world within Arkham Island, you know? So I don't know. It makes it a bit of a challenge, but it's still something I want to do. Like Metal Gear Solid, I think doing the Splinter Cell series playthrough was a point of where I was really proud of myself. I was like, this is a game I love, and we're going to play through all the games and appreciate every single one of them. And it felt so good to do that and to share it with others and to meet other people that are so into that. Yo, what's up, Akaki? Yeah, we're getting close to that 5K subs, man. We're getting up there, dude. Beyond that, let's see. Beyond Splinter Cell, I always keep a running list of what I'm interested in playing or videos I'm interested in making on the subject. Like with Suicide Squad, I was like, oh yeah, just like Avengers, I'm gonna do build videos. I'm gonna talk about each of the characters. I'll do tutorials on like the best ways to do this and talk about gear and guns. And so far, I haven't felt like doing any of it because the game has been in a state where some people can't log in. Some people can't log in is one problem. Server issues have been a thing. Last time I played, it was incredibly laggy, of like 5 seconds or more of lag in a multiplayer session. And of course, the reception was not great from even the initial trailers. I mean, they were dogging on this game. And then when I actually saw it and played it and actually started enjoying it, I was like, it seems like a fine game. There's nothing wrong with it. It's probably not going to be, you know, as iconic as the Arkham games or you know, something that maybe we even go back to long term. I guess we'll find out when they drop the Joker DLC this month and start telling more and more of the story over time. Also, people's reluctance to embrace live service games. Live service is the devil. There is, you know, no form of microtransactions that are not predatory to some people. Whereas for me, I can kind of see where it's like, yeah, those are for vanity. Those are cool. It's like, oh, when I really want to show off, I'll purchase these, and that's the only support of the developers that keeps the game ongoing for a lot of games. So with that game, it did kind of kill my passion of like really wanting to invest and build videos and just super nerd out about stuff that I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, that you really enjoy.
A lot of the channel was built on comic book video games like Avengers and all these other things, and built on stealth and tactical games, you know, things like that. And then we had a very large influx of Halo fans come in when me and Texas Wolverines did a playthrough. We did it for Gears as well. We did a whole playthrough of Gears, then we did Halo. Now we're on Ghost Recon Wildlands, and you jumped in on that. So it's become a co-op Saturday thing where it's like we are always going to be picking games, and primarily games from the past. You know, there might be a few from modern day that we want to play, but a lot of it is games we haven't played or kind of want to go back and re-experience. Like the reason we chose Halo, there he is in the chat. The reason we chose Halo was like neither of us had played Infinite, and we really wanted a refresher on everything that led up to Infinite, so that we could be fully caught up on the story and also really present in every event that's happened. You know, we can remember it. Because if you're waiting, you know, 2 or 3 years, 6 years between games, it's like you start to forget the little details. That's why it's so different playing the Mass Effect trilogy back to back in a way we never could during, you know, development. We were waiting 2 or 3 years between games, and you would forget the little details and the little alliances you made with people, or the people you double crossed, whatever it may be, or the characters who died. You start to, you know, you just kind of forget. You're like, oh yeah, that happened. Okay, yeah. So it's been a really cool experience, and I think it's caused my channel to grow a lot. And of course, Texas Wolverines here, he has just hit YouTube Partner, and a lot of that is because we invested in, you know, co-op gaming, playing series that are very popular with a lot of people that have a lot of nostalgia for that. And then I think he struck gold at the right time with Terminator Dark Fate Defiance, RTS in the Terminator world, and him being such an RTS nerd, like someone that's really into real-time strategy games, he can bank on that knowledge that he's been playing those games for years. And, you know, yeah, Terminator bringing in like thousands of views on live streams, and, you know, lots of active chatters, lots of, you know, videos with high performance. And now he's hit YouTube Partner, which, I mean, I still remember the days when I met him. You know, his streams were like 1 or 2 people, if that, no matter what you're playing. And I've been there too, so I can talk about it. Yeah. Like, we've all been there where you're streaming to either no one, and you're playing Call of Duty or Apex or Destiny or any of these things, and you're in a very saturated category, and it's really hard to grow unless you're either really entertaining or you're really skilled at the game. And so these are, you know, finding your niche of, you know, for me it was Marvel's Avengers that caused me to really grow a lot initially. And same for him. He invested heavily into RTS right now. And I was like, so what are you going to do now that you have a couple live streams that are really good? Like, are you going to invest in doing tutorials of showing people things or highlighting features of the game? Like, you could go in any direction with this, you know? And he's even talked up with the developers, and they've said, we like your videos, and we want to, you know, if we want to showcase this and that, what are you going to make videos about? That way we can share them. That sort of collaboration that's like the end game. That is the goal of what a lot of video game content creation should be, is fostering really good relationships, making good content that helps people, because YouTube, Google, all these things, these search engines, these are prioritized as educational platforms. We go to that search bar because we need to know how to reset the mileage on our car, or we need to know how to fix a leaky sink or whatever, or how to get past this boss. You know, we type it in, chapter select comes in on the video, and it finds that exact section that we need help, and we watch it. And if someone is kind enough and personable enough, you know, we give that channel a subscription.
Yeah. No, I thought of 2 points as you were talking, Aaron.
Yeah.
To the point of playing games that you enjoy, that you're either coming back to, or playing, say, the new chunk of things, and having people around to give you helpful information about how you should optimize the way that you play. I love Souls games.
Yeah.
I love Souls games a lot, and I enjoy learning how to get good at Souls games. But I'm very honest in saying that I'm usually pretty bad at them when I start at things, and it takes time for me to find what ends up working. I can get to a point where I'm pretty confident about what I'm able to do, but it's usually due to my gear and my my stats within that allow me to do cool things. I'm not saying that I'm good at Souls, but I'm also saying that it's not helpful to come into people's chats and tell them how to do stuff. I think it's perfectly fine to give people information about, like, hey, there's a cool... And what I like doing is, I think it's better to almost, if you want to call it this, role play within the sphere of you are just one of those orange messages that ends up on the floor in a Souls game, where you give a vague mention of, there's a cool thing over there, you should go get it.
Yeah.
But that's all you say.
Without being
that
spoilery.
Is way better, because it allows the person playing to have their own experience, but it gives them, hey, here's a helpful piece of information. It's one of those things where I'm very excited for Shadow of the Erdtree. I'm very excited for that expansion. But playing that live in front of people, oh boy, because people are going to be watching.
Yeah, that's very true. And they're going to be like, why aren't you using this? You know, you're not using the optimized build.
You know, the no optimized build is no longer bleed builds. It's now frost poison builds. I'm like, fuck off, let me play.
Let me play how I want to play, dude. I built this character, you know.
I like my dual rapiers. Let me use them.
Yeah. Some people want to brute force their own way, and you know, I had several different characters and different play styles, and you know, sometimes I was using what was the meta, and other times not. And then they would nerf things, and that would kind of change your approach to the game.
Well, it was something that Elden Ring did so well, where the ability to just build, craft, and choose whatever you wanted in terms of, like, your combination of weapons and spells and skills and all that stuff, and it ended up working very well. And the fluidity of the co-op furthered that, where you might be in a span where, oh, I'm having a tough time beating this boss because of its magic resistance and stuff like that. Let me call in my friend who can be a walking shield so that I can actually pitch spells at this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I had that issue several times, and friends had that issue, and I was there for them, and you came in several times as well, and you were like, I know exactly what you need for this fight. Like, this is the weapon, and this is what works within your build. I like that nurturing part of the Souls community, but I don't like the backseaters and the guys that are like, you're playing the game wrong. You suck. Get good.
Helpful.
I can't believe you're using summons. I can't believe you're playing co-op. That side is not so good.
Just play your game how you wish. The other one, because I realized there's something I've always wanted to do, because I've seen so many other people do it and stuff like that, is one of my favorite games of all time is RuneScape. The MMO. It's one of my absolute favorite games. It's kind of how I really started enjoying video games in general. What people have begun to do with that game is, because generally the general RuneScape experience is, oh, okay, I'll complete the quests, play the game, upgrade, like continuously level up all my skills, go fight bosses for gear, and so on and so forth. What people have begun to do is basically turn RuneScape and its sandbox, because there is so much player choice in how you approach things and how you level up and how you're doing stuff. What if you start putting restrictions and boxes around that? So it started with what were known as Iron Man accounts, where Iron Man accounts could not trade with other players. They could not use the in-game auction house to sell and buy things. They could not PvP and get loot from PvP, and all these other different things. And then people said, well, that was good, but I need more of a challenge. So then they created Ultimate Iron Man, where Ultimate Iron Man can't even store their stuff in banks. They have to carry all their stuff in their backpack all the time. And then people said, that's not hard enough. We need something worse.
That's crazy.
And then they created region-restricted Ultimate Iron Man, where they were locked to a region of the map and could not leave that region until they completed a certain challenge, which was often thousands of hours away. So I'm not a psychopath and I don't want to play an Iron Man account, but I like this sphere of take something that has super huge amounts of player choice, but then put on personal restrictions to create an interesting story within that. I've been doing that with the Souls series relatively recently, where and I'm doing it with Dark Souls 2 right now, which is playing what I have named the Keep What You Kill run, where I am only allowed to use armor, weapons, upgrade material, and consumables, so on and so forth, if they are dropped by NPCs. So you can't, any chests in the game, break them, can't use them. Any items on corpses, can't touch them. Or if I pick them up, I have to fully discard them, so they're deleted from my save.
Wow.
The only exception to this is picking up keys that open doors or Estus upgrades.
Right.
What it has caused me to do is I have completely relearned Dark Souls 2 in terms of using different weapons for different enemies. Because suddenly, a mace that in any other run of the game has no value, suddenly that mace is the means to like 2 hours of progress because I got a single mace drop off this random NPC. It completely like warps the way that you look at the game. So having like when you have the ocean of choice, like selecting yourself down to a singular tide line of I'm only going to play the game within this box and I'm going to stick to these rules, you learn so much about that game. And this can be applied to, like, it's a thing of say like going back to Metal Gear. What if every single mission in Metal Gear 5 was like those subsistence missions where you start with nothing?
I actually like that. Yeah, I think that would be a fun challenge, and I'm a good enough stealth gamer that I would really enjoy that.
Where it's just like, okay, what do I have available to me? Well, we have enemies here, 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 and here. We have vehicles here, 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 and here. Okay. What do I need? I need explosives to take out that, so we're going to need to go take out these guys to get explosives.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, to take them out, I'm going to need guns, so I need to go over here to get guns. And you start, like, your brain starts to think about all the potential possibilities there within, and then you discover random stuff where it's just like, hey, if you get this thing over here, you actually don't need to involve yourself with any of these problems. Here, you can just go right to your objective.
Very true. I think I realized another thing with Grand Theft Auto 4 was, like, if you just turn off the minimap and just learn to play the game, like, it's a different game, dude. You turn off the HUD, you turn off everything and just play a game. It doesn't have to be GTA, but GTA is a real good example because we're real familiar. You don't know where the enemies are coming from because you're not looking at the minimap.
Right.
You don't know where to go because you're not looking at the minimap. But at the same time, the game kind of gives you some context clues at times. They'll be like, oh, we're going over to this place, and they'll even say the name of the place. Mm-hmm. And if you learn the map, if it's your first time playing even, or if you're a veteran player, you start learning the road names, you start figuring out landmarks, and you focus more on that than you focus on looking at the mini-map while you're driving. You're rather more immersed in the game, learning the street names, learning where different characters live and where to acquire different vehicles and different weapons. So, I mean, yeah, applying these modifiers to your style of gameplay can really change the way you see a game. So, same thing for probably Red Dead, which would actually work really quite easily if you just turned off everything and just immerse yourself in that world.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but in terms of content, I think the big thing that I'm always railing against is I feel like I'm always covering relevant games, and we're always playing games, getting codes for games from developers and stuff like that. And we're moving more in that direction to get more opportunities in that way as a growing channel, which is pretty awesome. But at the same time, there is a very large temptation to drop a lot of the modern games that are very unfulfilling right now and just make it a retro gaming channel. And just go play Metal Gear Solid.
Stuff that you actually like to play.
Yeah, or load up the Super Nintendo and just start bashing through games I couldn't beat as a kid, you know? Like, bank on that nostalgia that I love and everyone loves. Like, that, even just games from the 360, PS3, PS2 era, all of these different eras of gaming where it was like, dude, there were so many games and I didn't have the income that I have now to buy some of those games or the time to play some of those games with school. I don't know, that just opens up so many opportunities, and for some of those games there's like zero competition out there. There is no one's making content on whatever that may be. There might not be any TikToks or YouTube shorts or any of that, so you have a chance to slide right into that niche and be the guy. that people go
guy.
to for that. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever drop everything, but I would like to have like at least maybe a retro day or a period of time. I've been waiting for just a dead spell in game releases, just a dry summer where we have a couple of months and I can just play some old games that I love. And I'm trying very hard not to play Death Stranding again. I do it every year, but I want to wait. I want to play it around Christmas time. It hits harder around that time of year. But I'm getting the temptation to start playing it right now again. And it's just because I enjoy it, and there's so many things I could do with the game.
Absolutely.
Marvel has a question here. Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire. Are you watching, both of you?
Ooh, I was not even aware.
Did you know there's a Ghostbusters? It's a new. Yeah. Okay. So it's the follow up to Afterlife. Did you see Afterlife?
I don't believe No, I have not seen Afterlife.
Yeah, you might need to see that before you make a decision, but the Afterlife was really cool because it combined a new cast and the original cast. It was that Ghostbusters 3, I think, that we were kind of finally waiting for. And Frozen Empire probably looks to do a lot of the same, bank on that nostalgia with the original guys, but also it seems like they're kind of handing off the torch. And Ghostbusters is very much a franchise where it's not really about those four guys. It's like anybody can be a Ghostbuster. And if you look in the cosplay community, there's Ghostbusters in every state, and they got their own patches. Ghostbusters of Michigan, Ghostbusters of Texas, whatever. Right. And it becomes about, you wear your own color outfit, you get your own jumpsuit, and you design it however you want. And you put your own badges and patches, and you figure out a way to create the proton pack, or you buy it, or you buy parts to create props from the films, So it becomes a lot like Spider-Man, where it's like anyone can be Spider-Man. You just wear the costume, you put on the mask. So the Ghostbusters, at a certain point, can sort of become bigger than what it originally was. But I do think that those original movies are incredible and just unbeatable. And I don't feel like any of these sequels top those. They just sort of expand the universe. They get a whole new generation of kids interested in what I enjoyed as a kid. And I get to enjoy it with them in a way because my idols are still interacting, with Paul Rudd and these new cast of characters.
New folks, yeah.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, I was not not aware of that at all.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Well, you have anything else you want to wrap up with? Any topics that you wanted to touch on before we wrap up here?
I don't believe so. No, that was quite thorough in talking about stuff. Thank you for having me on, Aaron.
Yeah, man. Thank you for being here. We'll definitely have to have you on again. I know we had a lot of things that we wanted to touch on, but we did such a good job of tackling everything we did, and I think we had a very substantive conversation about it all. So I'd like to thank you all for listening in. Thank you for watching. You can find the Shackcast on all podcast platforms. You can watch it in video here on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like. I have all of ActingRelic's links in the description down below, and I'll even compile some of the links that we were sharing throughout the video in case you guys want to look into any of the articles, any of the books, or anything that we were recommending on that front. I will add those to the description as well. So make sure you support ActingRelic. Check out his channel. Support him in any way you can. Thank you all for watching. Take care. Be safe. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.